This is what toy theater is. It's got an arch, it's miniature. It's made of paper and it's flat, and you can do it yourself. This is what toy theater is. It's got an arch, it's miniature. It's made of paper and it's flat, and you can do it yourself. Okay.
So in terms of Shakespeare, what we really also wanted to have is the students experience it in performance, in live performance. Previous to watching CRT's production of King Lear, they watched Ian McKellen's performance that was geared for the television. But it was limited in terms of its direct impact in the live experience.
Dina! Where's my name, my fool? You, Sarah, where's my daughter? So please you.
So I volunteered to take on the Herculean task of condensing King Lear into a 10-minute puppet show.
With puppets, you can allow people to add their own imagination to it versus with humans, it's kind of just there. With a puppet, you can have a mouth not move the whole performance, but people imagine that it's moving. I'm not saying that puppeteers allow audience to do the work, but they allow audience to put their own connection to it, making them want to come back to see it again.
We started as a class by looking at the major dramatic question of whether or not King Lear would find it in his heart to forgive his daughter Cordelia and accept her true love. And from there, we just sort of broke it down scene by scene. I started with major points of dialogue, and from there we decided we would build in a narrator character who would sort of push the movement along and make things a little more clear for the audience.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the history of... The Chronicle of... The Tragedy of...
There we go, yeah.
The Tragedy of King Lear by William Shakespeare.
You know, they began their show with someone of such great respect and great power, and they're reduced to this fragile piece of paper that's fluttering about on some heath in England.
Nothing, my lord.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing will come of nothing. Speak again.
I love your majesty according to my bond. No more, no less.
How, Cordelia, mend your speech a little lest it may mar your fortune.
Good my lord, you have begot me, bred me, loved me. I return those duties back as our right fit.
We spent 2 days just kind of working about what was the essential parts of the script. What do we need to absolutely have, and what were things that could be described through a narration?
There's 5 important things about toy theater, and we make a song about it, and we say, this is what toy theater is. It's got an arch, it's miniature, it's made out of paper, and it's flat, and you can do it yourself. And then people get stuck in people's brains and they remember it. It's a way of trying to explain what might be interesting about the form and why it could be useful in the 21st century when normally you want to be working on your iPod or your iPad or your smartphone and using digital media as opposed to analog media.
Blow, winds, and crack you cheeks. Rage, blow. Here I stand, your slave, a poor, firm, weak, and despised old man.
It's difficult for me to manifest myself into something else, and at least for this one was very, very limited. We had one particular articulation at the most, maybe a spin with the dowel.
People tend to say that Shakespeare is boring, and that's really hard to believe. I mean, here you have England on the verge of war, a man losing his mind as a storm rages on outside him. With the toy puppetry, it puts a reliance on the voice just because you have such limited range of motion.
But it's like a quick and cool way to like tell a story if you're doing it for kids who don't really pay attention, or you do it for adults who need to like just get the idea of things.
It really opens you up to the specificity of movement in terms of, you know, John Bell talked about there's such a difference with the puppet of moving it an inch versus moving it 2 inches. You know, in this scale, it makes such a big difference.
Like that, just moving that, it's a little bit with your hand, but on stage it's like... like if I was going like that, you know.
But the ultimate experience then of creating toy theater, it is this material engagement again with theater. It's alive, but this time they are actually producing the characters and inhabiting them in a totally new way. So we wanted to choose images from the Folger Shakespeare Library and digital images that had the connection with the first folio. So in the outside perimeter of the proscenium stage that we built, we took images from the first folio, the actual decorations, and placed them on the sides. And then also taking these images of the costumes that were produced through various productions that used the quarto and the first folio, we thought it would be a nice kind of rounding out of their experience with first folio, then made kind of present in a performance.
The oldest hath borne most. We that are young shall never see so much, nor live so long.